Coming up, Dbacks once again with the crazy comeback, discussing it next.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. I'm your host, Millard Thomas. I'm a multimedia journalist and I'm a graphic designer, so please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. If you want to see more content by me, just follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account, or just look up Locked On Diamondbacks on both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free and available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. As I mentioned, we are going to be talking about the D-backs game in this first segment. In segment number 2 and number 3, we're going to be talking to Sully Basbeall about the value of veteran players on a major league roster. Are they helpful, or how helpful are they actually? That's the question Sully and I are going to be asking ourselves in segment number 2 and number 3. But I first want to talk about the D-backs game against the Kansas City Royals, the second game of the series, the final game of the series, because I'm recording this at 10 o'clock on the dot. The D-backs game ended like 20 minutes ago, and usually I have more energy than this. I'm a little tired today, but the D-backs, they gave me a boost of energy late in that game because the D-backs had another fantastic comeback. I guess we should call the D-backs the comeback kid, because they win this game 8-6. Zac Gallen was on the mound, not the best Zac Gallen start, and this was just another game showing supreme resilience by the D-backs. Listen, I know it was against the Kansas City Royals. I know the Royals are not a good team, but I do not care. I don't think people realize the D-backs. I know D-backs fans realize this, but people outside of D-backs fans and D-backs Nation don't understand this. The D-backs won 52 games last year, so we're going to be very hyped when the D-backs have comebacks like this, when they enter June as a 500 team, maybe better than 500 team, when they have these incredible comebacks. Like, we're going to be happy as D-backs fans because we went through misery last season. People don't understand that we were one of the worst teams in baseball. We were the worst team in baseball entering the last game of the season, and then the D-backs decided to have a walk-off home run, and they lose the number 1 overall pick. The D-backs put us through the ringer last season, so I'm very happy, and I'm very hyped with how this early part of the season has gone so far, because the D-backs, after beating the Royals in a 2-game series, they're now 1 game above 500. They have now won 5 straight ball games. And I know, like I said, the Royals are not a good team. The D-backs have beat up on a lot of bad teams this season. The D-backs are 15-7 against below 500 teams this year. 15-7 against below 500 teams this year. And guess what? I don't care. Like I've said before multiple times on this podcast, if you want to be a team that makes a postseason, then you have to beat the bad teams. That's a great barometer to actually deciding if your team is good or not. If you're a good, quality, competitive team, you should beat the worst teams of baseball. And that's what the D-backs did in the last 2 games. But it wasn't easy because the D-backs had Zac Gallen on the mound. So I thought it was going to be an easy win today, and it was not, because Gallen had his worst start of the season. And I have to give the Royals lineup credit, because that top of the Royals lineup has been putting in work the last couple of days with how they've approached the play. I mean, a lot of hard contact at the top of the lineup. And if you look at Gallen today, that fastball and changeup he had gave up a lot of hard contact. Average exit velocity of 95 miles per hour, at least on that fastball and changeup by Zac Gallen. But despite giving up all that hard contact, there was positives in Zac Gallen's game. Like, he was able to generate strikes. He had 26 called strikes plus whiffs in this game. That is a ton for a pitcher, but it didn't matter because the Royals were able to lock in with 2 strikes, and Gallen ended up, I think I counted 4 2-strike hits in this game. I think 2 of them ended up in run scoring for the Kansas City Royals. So Gallen was able to generate the strikes. That wasn't the problem. It was putting away the hitters that was the problem. And Gallen enters the game with a 1.14 ERA. I think he had to pitch like 5 2/3 innings to qualify for the MLB lead, but he ends up just pitching 5 1/3, and he leaves with a 2.2 ERA, I believe. Actually, let me double check that to make sure I got the right one. Yeah, he leaves with 2.2 ERA. So still a great ERA by Zac Gallen, but definitely jumped a point because of the 4 earned runs he gives up. But it does not matter because the D-backs offense, like I said, showed resilience once again because this was a back and forth nip and tuck game. The D-backs offense actually got this. The D-backs offense actually got it going first before the Kansas City Royals because Dalton Varsho started the game with a leadoff bomb, the first leadoff bomb of the season for Varsho, and the first leadoff home run by a catcher in D-backs franchise history because Dalton Varsho is a freak of nature, and there's no, I can guarantee you, there was no catcher like Dalton Varsho in the D-backs franchise history before he arrived. So that's why Varsho had the first leadoff home run by a catcher in D-backs franchise history. He's a freak of nature, but this was a back and forth game. I mean, the D-backs, they took the early lead off that Varsho run. Then the Royals take the lead in the second inning. D-backs tied up in the second. Royals take the lead again in the third. D-backs tied up in the fourth. So you're entering the sixth inning. The D-backs and Royals both don't score in the fifth. You're entering the sixth inning. That's where Zac Gallen really falls apart. He leaves with 2 men on, second and third. Joe Mantiply comes in the game. He's been fantastic the last 2 years. I heard the broadcast say like something about he's only allowed like 5 of his 60 batters he's faced in the last 2 years, some crazy number like that to score. Like, inherited runners do not score with Joe Mantiply. That's been one of his bread and butters this season. He's been every starter's best friend out the bullpen because if you leave men on, Mantiply usually puts them away. And he was able to get the first out when he came in because there was 1 out already on the board. He was able to get the second out of the inning, and after that, he gives up the single up the middle, 2-run scores that goes against Zac Gallen. And unfortunately, Gallen leaves and that ERA jumps a point, but it does not matter because, like I said, the D-backs offense had Gallen's back. So in that bottom of the 6th inning, what happens? D-backs are down 6-3. We're like, Gallen, he gets rocked. He leaves with a 3-run deficit, the worst Zac Gallen start of the season. It's not what we want to see as D-backs fans. And actually, Gallen gives up 6 earned runs, not 4 earned runs. Gallen gives up 6 earned runs. I forget to add the 2 earned runs that, because he left with 4 earned runs, but I always forget to add the 2 after Mantiply comes in. So Gallen gives up 6 earned runs. The D-backs are down 6-3, entering the bottom of the 6th. You're like, man, the comeback is going to be tough now because at least in the last few games, the first game against the Kansas City Royals, the last couple games against the Chicago Cubs, the D-backs made their comeback early in that game. By the 4th inning, the D-backs had already tied it up or taken the lead, maybe by the 5th inning. Now the D-backs were going to have to do it a little bit later in the ball game than usual, and they were able to do it all in the 6th inning. I mean, they go down 3 runs in that 6th inning, and they get them all back because Jordan Luplow comes up to the plate, second pinch hit home run this season, 3-run shot, ties it up, and then Pavin Smith, after Dalton Varsho gets on base, he hits a 2-run bomb. The D-backs end up hitting 4 home runs in this game. Pavin Smith has been hot recently. He is 8 for his last 27 with 3 bombs in his last 8 games. He has 5 home runs in the month of May. His previous high in a month was just 4, so Pavin Smith might shatter his single season career high for home runs. And then when you look at all the home runs that happened in this game, those 4 of them, the D-backs now in the month of May, we just talked about Pavin Smith, how he has 5 home runs in the month of May, career high. The D-backs as a team have 33 home runs in the month of May, the most in the National League. And if you just want to go through today's home runs, how far they traveled, how hard was it off the bat? Dalton Varsho, his home run that started the game, 444 feet, the same amount of feet as Pavin Smith's bomb yesterday, 104.8 miles an hour off the bat. Luplow's bomb, 408 feet, 108.8 miles per hour off the bat, the hardest hit of the 4 home runs today. Pavin Smith's home run was 102.4 miles per hour off the bat, 415 feet, while David Peralta's was 102.3 miles per hour and 108 feet. And Ketel Marte kept his hitting streak alive as well. He now has a 7-game hitting streak where he's batting like over 400 during that streak with like a 1100 OPS, something crazy. So the D-backs offense looked wonderful once again. And we can't gloss over the fact that the D-backs bullpen, Mark Melancon, Ian Kendi, they both went out there and they both put up zeros on the scorecard. Mantiply, I mean, yeah, he gave up the inherited runners to score, but that was about it. Noah Ramirez did his job as well. So the bullpen, once again, another great performance by them. The offense makes another incredible comeback. And now it's time to hand out our 3 stars of the game. I think the first star has to go to Dalton Varsho, who had the leadoff home run in the game. Hit a strike him out, throw him out in the 7th inning. He also was one of the runs that scored once the D-backs took the lead in the 6th inning. And also, I just feel bad for Dalton Varsho because he's going to wake up with a nasty bruise tomorrow after that 100-mile-an-hour grounder off the bat of Ketel Marte hit Dalton Varsho's leg. So I kind of feel bad for Dalton Varsho. So he gets 1 star of the day. 2nd star of the day is going to go to Jordan Luplow, who came in the clutch, pinch hit home run. That's not easy to do. I think just getting a pinch hit is one of the hardest things to do in baseball, just because you're kind of out of rhythm. You're like, yeah, just go get a bat and go in the game in a high leverage moment. I don't think that's easy to do, and Luplow has done it twice this season, so he gets the 2nd star. And the 3rd star of the game goes to a man who has home runs in back-to-back games, Pavin Smith. He puts the D-backs in front with a 2-run bomb. And think about it, David Peralta also hit a home run in this game. We didn't even talk about that. Like, the D-backs put in major work in this game offensively. I was only able to hand out 3 stars. So Pavin Smith, Dalton Varsho, and I'm already blanking on who my other star was. Pavin Smith, Dalton Varsho, and Jordan Luplow. I don't know why I couldn't remember Jordan Luplow. So those are my 3 stars of the game. Thank you to the D-backs for taking down the Kansas City Royals. I know they were lowly, but this was much needed momentum entering the Dodger series. The D-backs have an off day on Wednesday, but they should still have the momentum riding a 5-game hit streak. They already beat the LA Dodgers once this season in their first series of the year. They got swept in a 4-game series the second time, another 4-game series against the Dodgers this weekend. So hopefully the D-backs can get their revenge for the second time this season.